And then I asked them if they had ever thought about leaving the major, and 9 participants did report thinking about leaving the major, 2 during the first semester, 2 during the first year, and 3 during the second year, and then 2 during the third year. So the majority of participants that thought about leaving were during those first and second years. And the largest reason was because there was self-doubt, but also burnout is ranked pretty highly, and the intensity of coursework. So intensity of coursework here means not only the amount of coursework, but the difficulty as well. And so since burnout was so high, and I had read a lot of literature about music therapists leaving the field due to burnout, I also wanted to see if students were leaving the field due to burnout. So for burnout, 8 participants reported experiencing burnout at some point during their college career. This was detected at various points, including the first year, the second year, and the third year. I asked them to say why, or say how they detected that they were being burnt out. And they said that they felt overcommitted. They had a lack of confidence in practice sessions. The amount of coursework was a big trigger for burnout, and somebody was going through a personal crisis and felt burnt out. And then I asked them what they did to combat that burnout. So they said that they exercised, they rested, and then they went through personal therapy as well to try to combat that burnout. Then going to non-music therapy majors, I asked them pretty similar questions with some differences. So 3 participants reported being non-music therapy majors. The current majors were mainly psychology and music. Well, they were psychology and music. Participants were comprised of 2 third-year and 1 fifth-year students, and 2 traditional students, and 1 student was a transfer student. So they had started at a different university and then came in. So I asked them their initial reason for joining the major, and 100% of participants said that they wanted to combine passions of music and helping others. And then the second highest was they wanted to make a difference in others' lives, which just anecdotally, I think those are pretty common reasons why people get in. And that was also noted in the Dvorak study as well. I also asked them to give me a snapshot of their first year as a music therapy major. So their successes were learning functional instrument play for guitar and piano, music therapy specific coursework, and then successes in practicum. And then I asked them their challenges, and they said music specific coursework, which specifically they noted music theory and ear training, and then an overall lack of confidence. I asked them why they left the major, and they reported thinking about leaving the major after 1 semester and then after 3 semesters. So again, in those first and second years. And 100% of them reported burnout and stress for being a reason why they left the major. The other highest ones were the intensity of coursework, concerns about future employment opportunities, music therapy study not meeting their expectations, and then becoming more drawn to another major. And then since burnout was 100%, I also asked them about burnout. They each reported experiencing burnout. It was detected during the first and second years. And their burnout triggers were a loss of interest in ensembles and practicum, the amount of music courses without justifiable reason, and then the level of expectation. So with that second point, the amount of music courses, they specifically were talking about having to take a ton of music theory classes and music history classes without being able to get an answer as to why they were taking them if it doesn't necessarily relate to their future career. And then to combat burnout, they said that they explored new types of music on their own, and then eventually they combated that burnout by just leaving the major. So for the discussion, by looking at the data, it suggests that it may be common for music therapy students to think about leaving the major at some point. Almost 100% of participants reported leaving the major. There were only 2 that reported never even thinking about it. To bring back those AMTA educational standards, 45% of music therapy coursework is those musical foundations courses. And at the university that the study was completed and in a lot of music programs, those are typically completed in the first and second years. That's when you get your hardest music theory courses. That's when you're taking a lot of those ensembles and you're practicing and you're learning all those new instruments. And we can see that that's when they reported having higher intensities of coursework, as well as thinking about leaving the major during these times. So that might just be correlation, but it is important to note. And then the reason that non-music therapy majors left the major are similar to the reasons why current music therapy majors considered leaving. So if we look back, all of the reasons why people thought about leaving or actually did are essentially the same: that burnout, loss of passion for music, concerns about a future career. So looking at that, I couldn't really say, like, this is exactly why people are leaving the major, or this is exactly why people are continuing to stay in the major, because it's very similar, and I didn't have enough data to really say, like, this is concretely what we need to do. Yes, so in continuing in the discussion, I also went back to that Dvorak study, since it does go through all of the stages that a music therapy major would go through. And when reading the data, I found that when a lot of people considered either leaving the major or did leave the major, it's related to this third stage, so the adjusting relationship with music. So having that love-hate relationship, having to negotiate the differences between using music therapeutically and using music just for fun, it was a big part of why individuals were wanting to leave. And then the study was not without limitations. The sample size was small. I had hoped to have more non-music therapy majors in the study, but it just didn't happen that way, as research does. And so I couldn't really have any sweeping generalizations because of the sample size, but I think that what I found is important in going forward. And then also, I think that the advertisement of the study was a limitation. I could have advertised it a little bit better to get more participants. And then for future research, I would love to be able to expand the sample size to other universities. We looked at one university specifically, but there's over 80 universities with music therapy programs. So I think that it would be great to see if this is the same at every single university, or if it's just at this university in particular, why these individuals are leaving. For participant criteria, I had it that they had to complete at least 1 year in the music therapy major. And my reasoning behind that was that your first year of college, or even if you transfer in that first year, you still have that adjustment period and all of those steps. And so I didn't want it to be like, I conducted this survey in the spring, and so I didn't want it to be people who had just completed one semester, or if I had done it in the fall, they just did like 2 months in music therapy study and then they were going to leave the next semester or something like that. And so that did exclude individuals who had left the major after 1 semester. So that could be a reason why the sample size was small as well. For additional questions to add, I was to really look at that divide at why people are truly staying and why people are leaving. I would ask more questions to kind of get at that. Also, I found that people are more likely to stay at their own university and also in their major if they have like more discussions with their academic advisor, and their first year GPA also is a huge indicator of that. So asking more questions about those topics to see if there's more reasons in there. Also, further testing tools. I thought that it would be cool to maybe add in a personality test to see if people with certain personalities are more cut out or like will continue further in the music therapy major, as well as there's a music therapy career aptitude test. And so I thought that it would be cool if we could give that and see if people who had a high career aptitude for music therapy were leaving the major, and kind of seeing why those reasons are. And then I have one future research question, which is what factors between music therapy majors and non-music therapy majors determine why individuals leave the major. So really diving in deeper and looking at that specific divide. Okay, cool. This is my resources. And then are there any questions? Thanks.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I posted in the chat, but do you think that the limitations would decrease if you had a larger student population?
Yes, I think that, well, I don't know if the limitations would decrease if there was a larger student population. I think that the limitations happened because the advertisement went into that, but also motivating students to actually take a survey is difficult. So I think that if I had maybe gotten more on people's, like discussed more with individuals to try to get them to take it, and then I don't know if a larger student population would necessarily have that larger of an outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a question. Do you think taking into consideration too of students who maybe have a double major or a triple major, that might also contribute to burnout? Like, would that also be another like further study that could be done in evaluating things?
Yeah, I was looking at specifically like just individuals with a music therapy major, and I hadn't asked about like minors or anything like that. So I think that that would definitely contribute, because you are having more coursework, and especially as you get into those upper level years, that coursework becomes more difficult regardless of what you're doing. And if you're in a double or triple major, then it's even more than just the normal music therapy stuff. Cool. All right. If there's no more questions, then we can be done.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mariah Skelley. Can everyone put a little clap emoji on their screen for her as we applause? Awesome. Thank you for presenting. Thank you for starting off the morning in a fantastic way. If you look in this chat below, you'll see Emily Beach posted that link for our keynote presenter. That's Miss Andrea Dalton. And so go ahead and hop over in that link, and she'll be inspiring students in a unique way. So don't miss that. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks.